Okay, Chapter 7, test review. Number 1, it says a rectangle has an area of x squared plus 5x minus 36 square units. Which of the following are possible expressions for the length and the width of the rectangle? So we have a rectangle. We're trying to find the length and the width because we know area is length times width. Okay. Do I know the area? Yes, I know the area is x squared plus 5x minus 36. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 36 equals the length times the width. So in other words, I'm trying to find out what times what equals x squared plus 5x minus 36. Well, we have some answer choices. In A, I have the length is x minus 24, the width is x plus 1. I can multiply those out and see if I come up with x squared plus 5x minus 36. Okay? But let's check B. Let's say I have x minus 4, the length, times the width, x plus 9. Let's multiply those out and see what we get. What is x times x? X squared. X times 9, 9x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. From here, you're going to combine your like terms. You have no other squared, so you have x squared plus 5x minus 36. That's what we're looking for. Guess here's our area. So the length has to be x minus 4, the width x plus 9. Number 2. Which property of real numbers is used to transform the equation in step 1 into the equation in step 2? Well, here's our step 1. How do we go from step 1 to step 2? I can see that they got rid of parentheses. How did we get rid of parentheses? We went 5 times x is 5x minus 5 times 3, 15. Which property is that called? As you can remember, it is the distributive property. Okay. And something about this test is that it's a cumulative. That means it's going to review you on lessons that we had way back when, which is good for when we come into May and you take your end of course. It's good to have this review. Number 3. If 1/4 times x minus 8 equals negative 4, what is the value of 9x minus 3? Well, to find what 9 times x minus 3 is, I have to know the value of x. I can find x by solving for x in this first equation. So I have 1/4 x minus 8 equals negative 4. Remember, how do we get x by itself? First, I'm going to add 8 to each side. That leaves me with 1/4 x equals 4. And then to get rid of a fraction, you're just going to multiply by its reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/4 is 4. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on each side. That leaves me with x equals 16. So now I know that 9x minus 3 is going to be 9 times 16 minus 3. Which gives me 144 minus 3, which is 141. Okay, number 4. Kaylin and Natalie were just hired to work for a clothing designer. Kaylin will earn $25 per hour. She will receive a hiring bonus of $600. Natalie will not get a hiring bonus, but she will earn $29 per hour. Which equation can you use to determine the number of hours H when both employees will have earned the same total amount? So which we want them to earn them the same, we're going to have Kaylin is going to equal Natalie. What does Kaylin earn? Kaylin earns $25 per hour plus a $600 hiring bonus. Natalie's only going to make $29 per hour with no bonus. Good grief, why didn't this copy off? Your answer choices on A, you should have 600 plus 29H equals 25H. B, we have 29H plus 25H equals 600. C, we have 600 plus 25H equals 29H. And then D, I have 29H plus 600 equals 25H. So which of these matches this? I can see that it's C, 600 plus 25H equals 29H. Number 5. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to x squared minus 10x? This should be a plus 25. Okay, well, I could just factor if I wanted to. Or on A, I have x plus 4 squared. B, I have, x plus 8 times x plus 2. C, I have x minus 5 squared. D, I have x plus 5, x minus 5. Since it's multiple choice, I could take an answer and see which one fits this. And let's try C. X minus 5 squared. That's going to become x minus 5 times x minus 5. Foil that out, I have x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 5 is plus 25. So I'm going to get x squared minus 10x plus 25. That's what we are looking for. Number 6. An amusement park has 2 jumping attractions called moon bounces in the shape of similar cubes. The larger moon bounce has a volume of 9,600 cubic feet. Okay, how do you find volume of a cube? Volume is length times width times height. But if we're dealing with a cube, we know all sides are the same, so I would really have volume equals side times side times side. Or in other words, volume equals s cubed. Okay, this larger moon bounce, I know it has a volume of 9,600, so I have 9,600 equals s cubed. Let's find the side length of this larger cube. If you need to, draw you 2 cubes, a larger, a smaller. The larger cube has a volume of 9,600. You're trying to find the volume of the smaller cube. Okay, I need to find the side of this larger cube. So s cubed, we're going to ask what times what times what equals 9,600. Well, I'm going to show you how to do cube root on your calculator. Turn your calculator on. You're going to get this screen right here. Oops, you're going to get this blank screen. You should. Okay, now we're going to hit math. You see number 4, how we have 3 in the square root? That is a cube root. So we're going to hit 4. And then we're going to put in 9,600, close parentheses, enter. Okay, I'm not going to clear this out because we have a decimal, right? But the side length of this larger cube is this long O decimal. Okay, I'm not going to clear it out of my calculator yet. But It says the smaller moon bounce is half the length of the larger one. Well, if the larger moon bounce has a length of 21.25 blah, 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 the smaller is half that. All I'm going to do is divide by 2. Okay? So we're going to take this amount in our calculator. We're just going to divide it by 2. So the side of the smaller cube is 10.62658. 569. Well, I really don't want to keep entering that into my calculator. But since I know volume is s cubed, and I know that s is this right here, all I have to do is take that amount and take it to the third power. So the volume is going to be 1200. Okay? It says, what is the value of y? Here's a question from previous lessons. What is the value of y if the line through 1, -2, and 3, 2 is parallel to the line through -2, 2, and -1, y? Well, what do you know about parallel lines? You know that they have the same slope. So I'm trying to find a line that passes through these 2 points right here. I have to know the slope and I have to know the y-intercept. Well, to find the slope, I'll just find the slope of this first line by using the slope formula. Where does the y2, y1, all that come from? That comes from your 2 points. Remember me telling you to label your points. Point 1, point 2. And then plug in. So slope is going to equal 2 minus -2 divided by 3 minus 1. This is going to become a plus plus. So 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I know my slope is 2. So I have y equals 2x plus b. Well, to find the b, I need to know x and y. X and y can come from either point on the line. I'm going to use the point that I know both values. I'm going to say x and y. So I'm going to have 2 equals 2 times -2 plus b. 2 equals -4 plus b. Add 4 to each side. 6 equals your b. So the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points is going to be y equals 2x plus 6. Now all you're going to do is graph this line in your calculator. Y equals, clear out anything that's there. Okay. And then we're going to put in 2x plus 6. And then I'm just going to second table and bring up my table. Make sure we did it right. When x is -2, y is +2. When x is -1, y is 4. Okay, which of the following shows the complete factorization of this trinomial? We can remember in previous lessons, the first thing you have to look for is the greatest common factor. I can see I can factor out a 6 and an x. Everything else goes inside parentheses. 6 divided by 6 is 1. X cubed divided by x leaves me with x squared. Plus 12 divided by 6 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. Minus 18 divided by 6 is 3. And we've already factored out the x. Okay, so now, am I factored completely? No, we have to factor this trinomial if we can. So I'm going to bring down the 6x, and I'm going to see if I can factor this trinomial. X squared is going to be x times x. Your factors of -3 are 1 and 3. When I multiply, I want it to be negative. When I add, I want it to be positive. So my bigger sign is going to be positive. -1 plus 3 does give me 2. So this becomes x minus 1 times x plus 3. There is your complete factorization, which leaves me with D. Yes, they wrote it in a little different order, but that's okay. Graph the solution set of the compound inequality. Okay? To graph this, we're going to have to get x by itself, and it's in the middle of these two inequality symbols. But you're going to solve it like you would an equation. To get x by itself, we first have to subtract 10. We have to do that from each side of the inequality symbol. A negative 18 minus 10 gives me negative 28. Bring down my symbol. Your 10's canceled out, so I have negative 4x. Bring down my symbol. 26 minus 10 is 16. Now to get x by itself, I see I want to divide by negative 4 on each side. And remember, when you're dividing by a negative number, you're going to flip the symbol. So I'm going to have 7, flip my symbol, x, flip my symbol, negative 4. Okay? Now we're just going to graph this, and we're going to graph it on a number line. I'm going to put 0 in the middle. I know that 7 is going to be over here. And I know that negative 4 would be on the left side. Okay, I see that my circle is going to be closed at 7 because it has the equal to under it. Closed at negative 4, and they are going to be joined. Okay, number 10. Which point lies on the graph of both functions? Remember, f of x is the same thing as y equals. G of x would also be the same thing as y equals. They made it easy for you. They already got y by itself. So all you need to do is graph. You need to graph both of these lines in your calculator. So we're going to have 3x minus 30. 30 minus 3x. Okay, then we're going to hit second table. And we're going to see which point do they share. Oh, when x is 5, I can see that both y's are not 0, so a cannot be it. When x is 10, both y's are 0, so there's your point. There's your point that they share. Okay, Jenna plans to solve the system of equations below. Here's her system. Which of the following does not show an equation Jenna can use to solve the system of equations? Which one can she not use? Okay, remember when we do a substitution, I told you to label your equations 1 and 2? Okay. Well, let's look at B. They obviously solved one of these equations for x. So let's do that. Let's solve this first one for x. I'm going to have 5x equals negative 15y plus 40. And here I'll divide by 5. So I'm going to get x equals negative 3y plus 8. Is this an equation she can use? Yeah, she can use it. So that's not going to be it because we're looking for the one we cannot use. Alright. Let's look at, if I got x by itself in equation 1, wouldn't I plug it into equation 2 to solve? So equation 2, if I plug that in, it would become 10 times negative 3y plus 8 minus 2y equals 16. Here's another equation I could use. That matches D, so D I could use it. Look at A. It looks like they started with equation 2, 10x minus 2, and they plugged in for y. If they plugged into equation 2, that means I need to solve equation 1 for y. So I'm going to have 15y equals negative 5x plus 40 divide by 15 on each side. So I'm going to have y equals negative 1/3 x plus 8/5. If I change 2 to y, I have to plug it into, I solve equation 1 for y, which means I'll plug it into equation 2. So that's going to be 10x minus 2 times negative 1/3 x plus 8/5 equals 16. So yes, A is also an equation we could use, therefore that leaves us with C. Why does C not work? Because they substituted x right back into the same equation that we solved x for, so that doesn't make sense. Number 12, which value of b would make x squared plus bx plus 10 factorable? Okay, well, they give you answer choices you can plug in, so plug in x squared plus 4x plus 10 and see if that makes it factorable. Well, you know you're going to have x times x. What are your factors of 10? 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Does 1 plus 10 equal 4? No. Does 2 plus 5 equal 4? No. I know that 1 plus 10 equals 11, so B could be 11. Or I know that 2 plus 5 equals 7, so B could be 7. That's going to leave us with C. X squared plus 7x plus 10. That does factor out to be plus 2 plus 5. 13. Which expression is equivalent to this right here? Well, you're going to have to get rid of parentheses and distribute and all that. So, I'm going to have 15 times x is 15x minus 15 times 6 is 90 plus 12x. Combine like terms. 15x plus 12x gives you 27x minus 90. Leaves you with A. 14. The complete factorization of negative 24x cubed plus 28x squared plus 12x is this right here. What is the value of A? Well, let's factor this so we can find the value of A. First thing we look for is a greatest common factor, which we know they tell us it's negative 4x. So let's factor out our negative 4x. Everything else goes in parentheses. So I'm going to have what? 6x squared minus 7x minus 3. Okay. Well, now we have to factor completely and factor out this trinomial. So I'm going to have negative 4x times something. Since it's our number in front of that x squared, remember this is where you have to find the factors of 6x squared, the factors of negative 3, and your inner plus your outer have to be negative 7x. Okay. Well, what are your factors of 6x squared? You know you're going to have 6 or 6x, or you're going to have 2x and 3x. What did they tell you to use? They tell you to use 3x as one of the factors. So your other factor has to be the 2x. So what's your value of A? A is going to be 2. Right? 15. Kimby is buying a $55 sweater that is on sale for 30% off. What is the total price of the sweater in dollars when 5% sales tax is added? Okay, well when you go buy clothing and you pay full price, you're paying 100%. But this says it's 30% off. So if I get 30% off, what percent am I really paying? Well, I know I'm only paying 70%. 100% minus 30% is 70%. So I have to take $55 and I have to find what 70% of that is. That means multiply. So 55 times 0.70. Because 70% as a decimal becomes 0.7 or just 0.7. So 55 times 0.7 means that sweater is going to cost me $38.50. But there's sales tax. How much sales tax? I have to add 5% sales tax to this. So I have to multiply this by 0.05. And that's 5%. 38.5 times 0.05. I get 1.925. Now, does that mean I'm paying $1.93? No. That means that's the sales tax. I have to add it back to the $38.50. So $38.50 plus the 1.925 is going to give me 40.425. But when we're talking about money, we're going to round this to the nearest cent. So it's going to become $40.43. Okay, 16. A car is traveling at a constant speed. In 8 hours, the car travels 40 miles. 8 hours, 40 miles. 440 miles, I mean. How many hours will it take the car to travel 1,100 miles? Well, this is where I can set up a proportion because it's going to be hours over miles. And I'm trying to find how many hours this car can travel in 1,100 miles. Okay. So how do we solve a proportion? We're going to cross multiply. What is 8 times 1,100? We're going to get 8,800 equals 440 times h is 440h. To get h by itself, we're going to divide by 440 on each side. H is going to be 20 hours. Okay, 17. The area of a certain circle is pi times 18x squared plus 12x plus 2. Okay. Find an expression for the length of the circle's radius. Alright, so let's find an expression. How do we find the area of a circle? The area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay. Well, I know the area is right here, so the area, I'm going to have pi times 18x squared plus 12x plus 2 equals pi r squared. Okay, well, I want to get r by itself, so I need to divide by pi. What I did on one side, I'm going to do to the other. So now these pi's cancel out. That's going to leave me with 18x squared plus 12x plus 2 equals r squared. Well, how do you get rid of a square? You have to square root each side. So r is going to equal the square root of 18x squared plus 12x plus 2. There's your expression for radius. A rectangle has an area of x squared plus 49 square feet. X squared minus 49 square feet. A. Use factoring to write possible expressions for the length and width of the rectangle. We know area is length times width, so I need to find the length times the width, which means I can factor. I see that I have the difference of two perfect squares because x squared is going to become x times x. Negative 49 is going to become 7 times negative 7. So this is going to factor to be x plus 7, x minus 7. Okay. There I factored it. I found the length and the width. B. Use your expressions from part A to write an expression for the perimeter of the rectangle. Well, I would draw a picture of a rectangle. Here I'm going to have x plus 7. Over here I'm going to have x minus 7. So how do you find perimeter of a rectangle? You add all the sides together. So I'm just going to say the perimeter is going to be 2 times x plus 7 plus 2 times x minus 7. Alright, there's your expression for perimeter. Here's your expression for area. C. Use your expressions from parts A and B to find the perimeter and the area of the rectangle when x is 10. Well, if you know x is 10, you can say this is going to be 10 plus 7, which is 17. So this side is 17. Here we have 10 minus 7, so this side is going to be 3, and 3. Area is going to be 17 times 3. Length times width. 51. 51 feet squared. Okay, perimeter, you're just going to add all your sides together. So 3 plus 3 is 6. Plus 17 plus 17 is 34. So your perimeter is going to be 40 feet. Okay? And that's it for this chapter review.